Hey guys, so today I am going to be processing some plums. I picked 64 pounds of plums off of my tree, and so I have 3 baskets like this, plus I have a big bag that I put in the refrigerator that I'll be using to make the jam with. The rest of these I am going to run through my steam juicer, and I will be using some of that juice to make jelly. I'll be using some of it for flavoring my kombucha, and then I might use some of it to try my hand at making wine. So we'll see what happens there, but jelly and then just having the juice for sure, and then of course the jam. So anyway, I'm going to get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some water in the bottom part of the steam juicer here. Alright, so now I'm going to put the second piece on. And for those of you who've never seen a steam juicer, this one has a hole. It's a cone-shaped thing with a hole in the middle where the steam comes through. And then this basket is like a colander, goes on top. Your fruit sits inside this one, and as it heats up, the juice falls through the holes and collects in this part here. And then you have the hose where you can dispense the juice into whatever vessel you're going to be using. So I'm going to put this on here. Actually, I'm going to take this part right here. I'm going to get it as full as I can get it and still be able to put the lid on. Now I'm going to set this back up on here. I'm going to put the lid over the top. I have my stool that I'm going to set here. Alright, so you'll see my stool sits right in front of it. I'm going to put just a pitcher up underneath here. Even though I have this closed, sometimes it will leak a little bit. So I'm going to set it inside there. Now I'm going to turn on the burner. And I have it on high, and I'm just going to, it's going to take quite a while for this to get hot enough to start breaking down the fruit. So I'm just going to let this go, and I'll bring you back when we start seeing some juice coming out of it. Okay, so as you can see, the juice is starting to drip down into the container. I'm going to close that off for a minute. I always pour the first part of the juice back in. That is just to make sure that the hose has been cleaned out and sanitized mainly. I mean, I always clean them, but it's just an extra precautionary step. Because anything that gets poured back in here this is hot enough that it's going to sanitize it anyway. Now you just have to keep an eye on it to make sure you don't overfill. I found that with most fruits, you know, they all have a different juice content, but with most of them, if this pot is full, I get between 4 and 5 quarts of juice. So this will fill up, I'm sure. But I'll bring you back when we start getting closer to the end. Now me personally, I'm going to go ahead and close this off because I get terrible about getting sidetracked doing other things, and I don't want it to overflow. So I will just come in here periodically, let it, you know, empty it, and then close it back off, because I've done this way too many times and I am terrible about that. So. Alright, since we're starting to get close on the juice, that container filling up, I'm going to go ahead and get my jars in the canner to sanitize. It's twofold. Number one, it will sanitize the jars, but also that juice is going to be very, very hot. And I don't want to shock my jars and have them break. So I want to make sure the jars are also hot. I'm also going to put my lids and rings down inside here. And right before I start filling the jars, I'll put some of the hot boiling water in here just to soften them a little and sanitize. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to mention was if you're going to if you want your juice to stay nice and clear, you don't want to use a masher or spoon or anything to push down the fruit, because then you end up with more pulp inside your juice. So I don't push it down or anything. I just let it stay like it is. But what I am going to do right now is I'm going to empty this fruit into that bowl so it can start cooling, because I will give this to my chickens. And I'm going to check and make sure the water level is still good in the bottom, and I'm going to dump in the next batch. Alright, I did want to bring you in and see if I can show you a close-up without fogging too bad. You can see there is still some juice down in here. And you can, sometimes I will take and put a separate jar down here and go ahead and tilt this. Well, I guess I have to let that finish before I tilt it. As you can see, my hose missed. That's good enough. Go ahead and dump this in my container. Alright, let's try this again. I had to switch to something a little bit bigger because I was having a problem doing this one-handed. I kept missing the jar. So now I'm going to tilt this. And as you can see, there's quite a bit more juice in there, but you have to remember that you are going to get some of the sediment when you do that. So now I'm going to close this again. I'm going to check the water level, which as you can see still looks really good. Alright, so we're going to set this back up on top of here. Okay, so my jars are nice and hot. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and fill these probably about a ½ inch or so from the top. Beautiful looking juice. And it looks like, because I didn't tilt that pan all the way, I really didn't get too much sediment, so I'm going to go ahead and bottle that one up too. Alright, I'm going to get my vinegar. This one I will finish filling up out of the next batch. So I'm going to do these 4. Looks like my guesstimation was pretty accurate. I think I told you somewhere between 4 and 5 quarts usually. So this ended up 4½-ish. And I'm going to go ahead and set these down inside my hot water. It's not boiling or anything yet, but just to keep it hot while we're doing the second batch. Alright, so now we're back to waiting again for this next batch to get hot and start juicing. So I'll bring you back for that. Okay, so you have to remember, this is not pressure canning, this is just water bath. So I'm not going to tighten this lid down or anything, I'm just going to set it over the top so it will get a good boil going. So once this comes to a boil, I will let it process for about 15 minutes. And then I'll take them out and let them sit on the counter until they are completely cooled. It's as easy as that. I will be saving this plum juice for making jelly. I might use some of it for extra flavoring in making wine. I'll flavor my kombucha with it. And in some cases we may just drink it as a juice. Now I didn't sweeten it, I didn't do anything to it, so if I'm going to, I do that because I don't know what I'm going to make out of it. That way I'm ready for anything. And so if we're going to like drink it as a juice, then it will still have to be sweetened a little bit. But anyway, that's it. That's all there is to it. Easy peasy. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.